On the 14th of November 1986, the vibrant pulse of Papua New Guinea came to a sudden halt. News reverberated through the streets. PNG's dynamic and often polarizing political figure, Iambakey Okuk, had passed away. The corridors of politics and parliament would never echo the same again. At just 41 years old and brimming with potential, Okuk had already carved out a legacy in the country's journey to independence, having entered the Third House of Assembly as the provincial member of Chimbu in 1972. His death was shrouded in controversy. The nation, barely 11 years old, was gripped by disbelief. The grassroots, who saw in him a champion for their cause, were especially stricken. Whispers of superstition, legends, and sorcery myths filled the air, with some even claiming that Okuk was not truly gone. Rumors swirled that he was still alive, spirited away to Rome because of his sharp intellect and fiery drive to nationalize policies for indigenous citizens. Sparking and adding to the mystery was the fact that his body was never viewed by the public, and was closely guarded by police and military personnel. The general public could not come to terms with his untimely departure. Protests and riots erupted throughout Port Moresby and other centers of Papua New Guinea. Okuk's leadership was a precedent and forever altered the political landscape of Papua New Guinea, leaving an indelible mark on its history. Iambakey Okuk was born on May 5, 1945, in the Central Highlands region of Papua New Guinea, in what was then the territory of New Guinea under Australian colonial rule. He was born in the Simbu province, now known as Chimbu, a rugged and remote part of the country. Okuk's early years were marked by the colonial era's deep racial segregation, where the indigenous population had limited access to quality education and were subjected to various forms of social and economic discrimination. Unlike many of his colleagues, Okuk chose not to pursue higher education abroad. Instead, he opted for an apprenticeship to become a mechanic. This decision was deeply intertwined with his desire to contribute to the economic development of his people through practical skills, particularly in the field of technology. At that time, the Highlands region was just beginning to see some changes, including new infrastructure and access to modern machinery. His decision to engage in practical training was a reflection of his forward-thinking mindset. He understood that his community's progress would depend on bridging the gap between traditional ways of life and an emerging modern economy. Okuk's early exposure to colonial inequality, combined with his personal education and hands-on training, played a crucial role in shaping his future political activism. During his time in Port Moresby, the capital city, he encountered the systemic injustice of the colonial administration, which denied indigenous people basic economic rights and opportunities. This spurred him into action, setting the stage for a career dedicated to political and social change. Okuk's political awakening began with his involvement in labor movements. In the 1960s, the indigenous workforce was subjected to unfair pay structures that favored expatriates, further entrenching the colonial system. Okuk joined the growing number of Papua New Guineans who were challenging these exploitative systems. He became an advocate for fair wages and better working conditions for indigenous laborers, organizing protests and rallies against the colonial government's discriminatory practices. His early experiences in the labor movement made him acutely aware of the deep inequalities that extended throughout all levels of society. They fueled his belief that the political future of Papua New Guinea lay in the hands of its indigenous people and that the country would need to control its own resources and institutions to ensure economic independence. Okuk's activism was foundational in shaping his political ideology, which would later influence his work as a politician and leader in the post-independence period. Okuk's activism wasn't in vain, and he rapidly rose to prominence as a charismatic and passionate leader. His involvement in labor movements, combined with his practical experience in mechanical work, gave him a unique perspective on the needs of ordinary Papua New Guineans, particularly the working class. This perspective made him a voice for the marginalized and a natural fit for a future in political leadership. Okuk's formal entry into politics came in 1972 when he was elected as the regional member for Chimbu province, marking the beginning of his illustrious and influential political career. His election was not just a personal victory, It represented the increasing political engagement of indigenous Papua New Guineans, many of whom had previously been excluded from the political process. As a representative, Okuk was known for his outspoken views and as a fierce advocate for the rights of Papua New Guineans, particularly in the sectors involving land, resources, and economic independence. From the outset, Okuk was a critic of the Australian colonial authorities and their policies, and he fast emerged as a key player in the push for Papua New Guinea's independence. His political career was marked by his advocacy for economic nationalization, a policy that sought to bring key industries, such as coffee and transportation, into local control. He believed that by nationalizing these industries, the country would be able to create a more self-sufficient economy, one that was driven by indigenous participation and the development of local industries. Throughout his political career, Okuk remained an advocate for economic and social justice, continuously challenging government policies that he believed favored foreign interests over the needs of Papua New Guinea's people. His vision was one of a self-reliant nation that was in control of its destiny, free from colonialism and foreign exploitation. As Minister for Agriculture and Fisheries, Minister for Transport, and Minister for Primary Industries, Okuk worked tirelessly and without fear to promote policies that supported the local economy and empowered indigenous people to take control of their economic futures. Okuk's leadership qualities were quickly recognized, and in 1980, he was appointed Deputy Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea. This was a milestone achievement for a man who had risen from a mechanic and labor activist to becoming one of the highest-ranking officials in the country. During his time as Deputy Prime Minister, Okuk worked closely with other government officials and leaders to navigate the complex political landscape of the post-independence era. One of his key priorities during this time was the development of Papua New Guinea's infrastructure and the promotion of policies that would allow for the equitable distribution of wealth and resources. He was particularly concerned with the economic challenges facing rural and remote communities, many of which had been left behind in the early years of independence. Okuk believed that for Papua New Guinea to achieve true self-determination, it needed to focus on the development of rural areas and ensure that all Papua New Guineans had access to basic services and economic opportunities. Okuk's tenure as Deputy Prime Minister was marked by significant challenges, as the government struggled to balance the demands of rapid economic development with the need to maintain social stability. Despite these challenges, Okuk remained steadfast in his belief that Papua New Guinea could become a prosperous and self-reliant nation. His leadership was instrumental in shaping the country's early post-independence policies, particularly in sectors related to and including agriculture, transport, and industry. Sir Iambakey Okuk was the visionary behind the Highlands Highway, also known as the Okuk Highway. This vital road links Leh and Morabet province to the previously isolated Highlands region. He is also credited as the mastermind behind the nation's flag carrier, Air New Guinea, and establishing the Ramu Agri Industries during his tenure as the Minister for Agriculture, Transport, and Civil Aviation. Tragically, Okuk's life was cut short in 1986 when he succumbed to liver cancer at the age of 41. His death was a profound loss for Papua New Guinea, as the country had lost one of its most passionate and visionary leaders. The nation aggressively mourned the loss of a man who had dedicated his life to the service of his people and the advancement of his country. His untimely passing left a void in the leadership of Papua New Guinea, one that would not easily be filled. In recognition of his contributions, Okuk's legacy continues to be honored in various ways. One of the most notable gestures of respect came in 2020 when a 50,000 kina facelift was carried out on his gravesite, a symbolic gesture that reflected the enduring admiration for his leadership and his vision for a better Papua New Guinea. The restoration of his gravesite serves as a reminder of the sacrifices he made for his country and the ongoing importance of his ideas and vision. Sir Iambakey Okuk's life and work stand as a powerful testament to the transformative power of leadership, activism, and dedication to one's country. From his early days as a labor activist to his rise as Deputy Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, Okuk's legacy is one of selfless service, visionary thinking, and an unshakable commitment to the betterment of his people. His advocacy for economic nationalization, his efforts to empower rural communities, and his leadership in the early years of independence have left a lasting impact on the political and social landscape of Papua New Guinea. While his life was tragically cut short, Okuk's legacy lives on in the policies he championed, the progress he helped facilitate, and the enduring respect he earned from his countrymen. As Papua New Guinea continues to grow and evolve, Okuk's example serves as an inspiration for future leaders and citizens to continue striving for a better, more equitable future for all. Sir Iambakey Okuk is one of Papua New Guinea's most recognized leaders, a figure whose life and work left a permanent mark on the country's history. From humble beginnings in the highlands to becoming a critical player in the formative years of the nation's political landscape, Okuk's journey is a testament to determination, visionary leadership, and an unwavering commitment to the advancement of his people. He remains a prominent figure in the country's political history, symbolizing the struggles and victories of an era of self-determination and nation-building.
Place, you mean master along this place of politics, you me too. Look out, all people belong me, master belong economics, all man. Belong look out him, development belong here, Bombay fitting people belong in me. Alright, you me talk about Philippines, only got 40 million. Only got a mass, only got plan long economics, only come up here legally. Long here you me got 2.5, 3 million. You got legally man that's all Bamba only benefit. Kind loan I me put him, belong look out him all big man. And big man, me talk about big man and me, now you all member. Now, all some planar plan money come. Now, kiss him skin belong on, all call him, all kiss him this la ticket, all qualify finish, all Papua New Guinea, and really long this plus ship, skin, citizen. All kind law you me bring me. Kusai now. You must look good inside long this plus citizenship section. I'm trying to tell you that some of the things which you don't know, you were crying down here. Sit down.